Today's worksheet, March 27th, is systems of equation with substitution. So you're going to have to solve each system by substitution. And on this sheet, you'll see there's a varying mix of different types of problems. The first one is a little simpler. I'll try and do the first one and then another one for you so you can understand how to do multiple ones. On this first one, number one, both equations are already in y equals form. So what you're going to do is you're going to have to take this top equation, and it already tells us that y equals 0. So we're going to go ahead and set up our ordered pairs here. And for our y, we're going to go ahead and put 0 in because it's telling us that's the answer. And now on our equation, we're going to plug in 0 for y. So I'll say 0 equals 2x plus 2. And in order to solve for x now, I've got to get the x by itself. So I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. And I get negative 2 equals 2x. And now since these are being multiplied, I'll do the opposite, which is to divide both sides. And I get x equals, and negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. So my x equals negative 1. So I've solved that one easily because it already gave me the answer to the first one. Now let's slide over and look at number 2 because it's a little bit different. On 2, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to look at those equations and then plug one equation into the other. So when we set up an ordered pair, we don't know anything because both of these are set up like equations. So the first one, I think, we'll go ahead and plug into. We'll say y equals x minus 6. And then for our y, we're going to plug this in. So we'll say y, for our y, we'll say 8x plus 1 equals x minus 6. So now we've set it up so we've plugged one equation into the other. So we took this whole equation right here and we plugged it in for the y, if that makes sense. Now we've got to solve for x on this one, so we're going to draw our line. I'm going to go ahead and subtract 1 from both sides, and I get x, and then negative 6 minus 1 is negative 7. 8x left on this side, and we'll subtract x from both sides. And since that's just an x, it's an understood 1x. So we'll say 8 minus 1 would be 7x equals negative 7. Divide both sides by 7. X equals negative 1. So now we know that x equals negative 1. So up here we're going to say negative 1 for our x value. This should make it a lot easier now. Let's take our first equation again. Y equals x minus 6, and we know our x equals negative 1, so I'm going to say y equals negative 1 minus 6, y equals, and we'll combine like terms, negative 1 minus 6 is negative 7. So your answer to number 2 is negative 1, negative 7.